I think they're still sitting in storage. I think.
They were excited to be moved to the center meetings instead of the.
It's 6 o'clock and we are recording. I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Art and Culture Committee. And first up is consider approval of the April 16th, 2025 meeting minutes and take appropriate action. You have a copy of those in your packet. You'll take just a moment to look over them.
These are the same that were in the email, right?
Right.
Oh, okay.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from last meeting, April. Was it
16th.
16th?
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Let's move on to the next agenda item, which is receive subcommittee updates and take appropriate action. We will begin with arts and culture in public spaces.
Okay, I thought that was going second, so I will. I pulled them forward a little bit. So the committee last time made a presentation on a couple of different items, and so we want to expand upon a couple of pieces there, and we talked about them under the strategic subcommittee as well, just so everyone
Right.
kind of knows where the conversations started and moved into the subcommittee. And one was, we were talking beyond the electrical boxes and beyond just what we could do with general public and spaces. And so that's what we wanted to throw out there and see if we could kind of pitch the question back to the city of, as we are looking beyond electrical boxes right now, and the opportunity for painting, let's say, the backside of the restaurants over at Mustang Station, just as an example for you. Some other ideas to be able to do events that center around the cultural district, such as art walks, chalking the park, artists making art out and about during, let's say, a big weekend or something going on. Not just necessarily an event itself, but just it's something happening. And then doing things, the idea was totems. It could be a lot of different things getting made, but so you take like the Rose Garden and you feature all these artists that created their own, and we have a space for them to be shown as a city, therefore bringing art into the city. And so our question is, how does the city council and how does the city themselves see some of those opportunities coming so that we as a committee can either react to them, help organize them, be a part of them, and make that start to happen instead of just talking about it?
Sure. I could say get that list to Jennifer Evans, who's part of the event review subcommittee. And I feel like pretty much everything that you listed, something that we can automatically implement. Low cost, there's not much to it as far as coordination goes. And within the budgets, between the historical park budget and the community events budget, just depending on what areas that we're looking at focusing on, we can most definitely do that. One thing the event subcommittee, which she'll probably go into detail later, is we're talking about like some different like pop-up musics in the park. So we can do that around the art district and incorporate some of those paintings and murals and different, yeah.
Yep, that
Yeah,
makes
so
sense.
yeah, that list is very doable. I don't foresee any obstacles. I don't see a budget constraint, because it's minimal funding that's needed for that.
Yep.
So yeah, give that to Jennifer,
Okay.
and she'll give it to the committee.
So-
A lot of the things that you said were already things that we kind of talked about, the events review committee, and they were all very receptive to adding to events, adding like arts and culture to events. So if it's something that is, it's not cost prohibitive, it could be easily added. They were receptive to it.
Okay, so the Arts and Public Spaces Subcommittee and from the Strategic Committee, so Rita, if you join us on that conversation, we should probably talk to you so you can be the conduit back.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and speaking about it here can be part of it, and then we can also always use like the 5:30, 5 o'clock before meetings to discuss some of that, or,
Yeah.
you know, we can always meet up after. At
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah, and the goal being, this isn't the place to get into nitty gritty detail, so.
The next big event, city event is the Independence Day celebration.
And then we also have, excuse me, our July is National Parks and Recreation Month. And we have a couple of sidewalk type of chalk pop-ups going on. I'm not sure where they're at. It's coming out in our branch living that is published on June 1st, and it's on the website now if you wanted to check it out.
Okay.
We've got different pop-ups going on throughout the entire month of July, all around the city. And so like I said, those are things we can incorporate now as
Cool.
well. Yeah.
When you say you've got pop-ups, that are coming up, who participates in those and how, you know, if an artist wanted to say, I would love to take a piece of sidewalk and, you know, do some art on it, have my little QR code for my website next to it, how would somebody sign up? Is that,
We can put something together and put that on the website. If you guys have any contacts, if they come to you guys as being board representatives, you can get that back to Bonnie and she'll get that over to the events team. But we have it all planned out and scheduled out. It's free. It's gonna be open to residents, non-residents. We're gonna put some hard marketing blast on it. We're just tidying up a few more details. And since it's kind of, I would say, a little bit sponsored by NRPA by utilizing their logo, we have a lot of policies and procedures that we have to follow when we're putting that out and certain dates and different things like that. So we're trying to follow those guidelines but also we know our residents love the over communication. So that'll be out soon. And then I'll have the team put together some type of a QR code like we did for Gateway to the Globe. If there's any community partners that just want to come out and not necessarily do anything out of the ordinary, but just want to be there and maybe be, you know, arting while the kids are sidewalk chalking, you know, like just
yeah.
different opportunities. We can have a QR code so we can capture that information.
what is NRPA? Sorry,
National Parks and Recreation Association.
PRA, okay.
Yeah.
PPR.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Okay, so that is great news, because that's the kinds of things we wanted to be able to see. How do we implement and from this committee interject more art into those things?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, anything you can do to help us know you're working on them, even if you don't have them final planned. So you're gonna hear from Rita in a little bit, how we can help
Okay.
with some of that from an idea push, with the artist outreach side of it.
Cool.
And that's what we want to do. I think a small group of us, I think really the whole group of us, I just don't want to speak for everyone I haven't heard from, to do for you guys.
Yeah.
Because I think that's our charge as a committee, is to interject those opportunities. And so I know I'm excited hearing that. Are you excited?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that we had on our art in public spaces goes back to what you just asked right before we started. So I'll formally ask it. And that's, I said, I was so glad that you guys were here this evening to hopefully answer this. So you can answer it during the meeting. When we started talking about the West Side Art Trail and putting up statues and art and specific places. And I'm not sure they're up, but then Chris said he thinks they might have gone up. So can you guys give us an update on that?
Yes, all the art pieces that we purchased are still in storage at the Sinlac Service Center.
Okay.
So I think if I recall, we were waiting on the city to take possession of the medians on Mercer.
Okay,
So we actually have control over the medians on Mercer and Whittington on the west side. The Mercer median actually contains West Side Trail already on it.
Yep.
There already is an existing piece of artwork on Mercer that was installed by the developer.
Yeah.
So, and we were also, I think, waiting the developer was doing some park updates, or they were actually doing some development of the park, Mercer Park.
Okay.
Which is kind of sandwiched between Whittington and Mercer on the west side. So, we didn't own the property then because we were waiting for the developer to finish. That's all done now. So we own the property and we just took control of the medians. So, we probably need to circle back on that and look at where, because those are all areas that we have control over now. So if we want to place the art on Mercer, or we want to put some more pieces in the park. So the developer did put one piece in the park, a dove piece that was part of the, what the developer is supposed to put in as part of their improvements.
Yeah.
So, the south, if you guys know where that, I mean, and maybe we can bring some more information at another meeting on the layout of the park and kind of where the current piece is. We can bring some pictures of it.
The the north end, northwest end of the lake area?
Yes,
With the
it's the north-
outdoor
correct.
pickleball courts, okay.
I think it's called Landon Lake, I guess. It's the Mercer Lake, Landon Lake. It's right between Mercer and Whittington off of Chartwell.
Mhm.
Actually, part of the park is on Chartwell, and it's basically Chartwell and Whittington
Mhm.
intersection.
It's kind of like a horseshoe there.
Correct.
We drove around it.
Yeah. The southern part of the lake is HOA property. So that's all, but the northern piece, we actually have two pieces on the north. So we've got a piece that's adjacent to the lake and then one that's just right across the street. The piece across the street will probably be something we'll develop for, we're looking at pickleball, basketball, some more active spaces. The area to the south will be, we actually just installed trees and irrigation in that area. They're about to put turf there in a couple of weeks, so it'll look more park ready. Trails already in there, so once that grass goes in, it'll look like it's ready. I mean, people are already using the trail, so it's pretty much open. So the other northern piece is where we're gonna redevelop at some point. So there's lots of opportunity on all those spaces for the art. I know it kind of makes sense to put I mean, in my mind, those medians kind of make sense because we already have an art piece there. We could just look at different we actually, if you go Mercer and Valley View, you've got the entrance blade signs that the city has.
Mhm.
And then the artwork's further down. It might be across Luna, maybe, and then it's somewhere around there. I can't
Yes.
remember, they're actually across the street.
It is, it's just inside the,
So we have the median from there all the way to basically the
the
lake.
lake.
So we have those opportunities to put, and I know my staff want to get those installed. So if you want to put that maybe on the next agenda, we can start looking at that. I think the southern part of Mercer would be good, and then anywhere, we can look at spots that in particular that you want to put on the median as well.
Okay.
And there
So-
were patches there in between the trees and the landscaping.
Yeah.
Hillary and I drove it today.
Those medians are pretty big.
Mhm.
They're wide. Some of them are already treeless and.
Yes.
And one of them even looks like it has electrical to it if you were gonna light it. So point of clarification on process, should we make a motion to ask for the city to show us a plan of those three in the median? So that we can make that, go ahead and move and they can bring us a plan next month? Is that the way we do this?
So here's my question. Are we making recommendations as to where to place them, or are city employees making?
No, I think what we would prefer is for the board to make a recommendation where they
Right.
go. Then I will work it through management and see if at that point they want to take something to council, maybe do a work session, or we're okay to move forward. The management does have weekly meetings with council. This could be something we also could do a memo with the recommendation of the board on where those locations. They need to see where the art's going and what's being recommended. I just need to, so once that's done, then I'll figure out the next steps after.
Okay.
But I think you need to go ahead on the next, whatever meeting coming up. Go and have
I just wrote that down.
So that we have to put it as an agenda item, or
Yes.
we can move to make the recommendation and it gets voted on at the next,
Just to make it an agenda item.
okay.
And you can vote on it next, or we can do.
Yeah, we can vote on it when we have it as the agenda item.
Yeah,
So
we
it
make
can
it
all
an
happen
action
next
item.
week, next month.
Next, okay, because I think just from talking to several other people and what we did 6 months ago when we went and looked, I think we all are familiar with the space and ready to say, this is where they should go as the recommendation
Agreed.
and make that move so that they're getting placed before we hit our 1 year anniversary of being on the committee.
If you want to, if Mike can put together the spots where you want them. And then on your agenda that you put together, you're actually saying, this is where we want them and we're gonna vote on it. If we can look at that first and just make sure those places are okay, that would be,
Great.
that way
That's
we're not
why-
having to look at it. I'd rather have been in front of it and us review it, and then when it comes to you,
And
and
help
it's
it
ready to
move on.
go.
Perfect.
So,
Done.
I'm gonna add another talking point on this. I was actually approached by one of the artists yesterday. And they've had zero communication about why it's not up, when it's going up, where it is, what's happening. To the point where they were like, if you're not gonna use it, can I have it back? Because I have another place that would
Gladly accept.
gladly accept it and put it up in a time that's much quicker than ours seems to be. So my question is, who is communicating to the artist?
I
It is,
am, and I have talked to him before. And I told him that it's on hold, that we've had a lot of changes.
and that's
And
shared
and
and
we outright bought his piece of art.
and that's also what I shared. But I think as an artist, they want it up, and so I was asked to bring that to tonight's
Sure.
meeting and just say that they would love an update, and I'm wondering if it's the same one or if it's a different one.
Yeah, it's the thing.
Seems like it is.
Yeah.
I think we're about to have an update.
So the update is,
Yeah.
it's gonna be presented for placement at the next meeting, to take the recommendation back to the city.
And now I can clearly tell him, Bonnie will share any
And I've
update
talked to
when
him.
we have it,
Yeah.
and just be patient.
Stephen. Yes, yeah.
Just trying to.
And yeah, and I've spoken to him on many occasions and have emailed him, and we haven't had anything to report on.
Right.
And they've been on hold waiting on the mowing contract and several other things that have now gone through. So it's
Yeah,
exciting.
I'm
to say
excited.
that
I
we
get
can
to
move forward.
feel like
I
see
even have
something.
his artist statement and everything, because then we can order plaques
Yeah.
and do all that.
Mhm.
stuff.
So we need to make that part of our agenda item that we'd like to also talk, not just about the placement, but the activities of promoting it once they are placed. So that we can be ahead of that, because that'll still take a month or two to work through, right?
So I have a quick question. I know that the city or, Mercer Crossing, the HOA used to own all the right of way through the roadway. And then recently, or it stopped at the curb, but then picked up at the medians.
so that.
But the medians just were recently converted to the city property, right?
Correct. So we have an agreement with the HOA. They released the maintenance of all those medians back to the city. So we have maintenance of the medians now. And so the HOA is not, we have an agreement in place. And so they did go through the last couple weeks. They've been updating all the landscape through there because a lot of it they had done to let go.
Yeah.
And so they spent almost $200,000 in updating everything, but we're about to we're finishing reviewing all the stuff they put back in. So probably in a couple of weeks, we'll take full possession, release them. But I mean, the agreement's already been signed, so we can move forward and place the art. It shouldn't be a problem.
The reason I asked is I'm looking at the appraisal district and that has a good aerial where we could look at and like,
And I think as just being a good neighbor, probably after the board makes their recommendation, of course, I should keep saying recommendation, makes their suggestion, and actually council will finalize it. But we'll probably give the HOA heads up because they're the ones seeing it every day. So wherever these get placed, we'll probably some more of a courtesy because it's
Right.
our medians now. So it's like, hey, these are where they're going up. And that's the other beauty of putting it on there because there's already art there. It's not like we're doing something different. You got the blade signs and the art, so that's already there. And we have art in the new park, so.
I have a question about, once the art is placed, will it just be plunked there, or will there be additional landscaping to sort of frame?
Yeah, that's what we'll look,
piece.
yeah, that's what we'll look at, because I know the piece that's there has landscape around it, and they've redone a lot of the landscape, so. I mean, it'd be nice to put it somewhere where they've already updated some of the landscape and we can kind of take advantage of that,
Yeah.
so. We'll just see where you guys are looking to do it, and that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, if we look at that. Sooner than later, that way we're prepped, so whatever agenda, whatever Bonnie puts together is what we've already looked at and we're cool with, so.
Yep.
That's
Cool.
I have a recommendation. I know that you're gonna put it at the center medians and people can fly down some of those streets. I would recommend at least on top of those curved medians, put another 6 to 8 inches pedestal.
I'm trying to think of
If
the
you
one that's
can.
there, it's pretty big, the one that's.
It's really big.
Yeah.
It's a-
It's pretty good.
It
That's bigger than I think the pieces we have, right? That one.
Ours are not that tall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of them are 7 or 8 feet, but it was recommended to do a 3-foot pedestal at one point, when Don was on it. And I can go back and look at the notes. At first, he had a lower pedestal, but then, we went out one day with Mark and a few people and he had looked at maybe doing a little bit taller one, so it stood out. So it's something that you guys as artists and as the experts can decide on that. And if you can get me information before the next meeting, then we can put it in the memo and then we can discuss it and vote on it too.
So
then
would that
we can
be,
put something together.
would that be Art in Public Spaces, that subcommittee that would
Yes.
kind of make that recommendation?
Yeah, we'll put it all together and
We'll,
bring it
yeah,
back next week.
Well, if you can,
I'll get it to you early and you can get it and let them look and then we'll bring it back to the meeting.
But it's that subcommittee, not all of us have to need to
That's
go out
correct.
there and.
that'd be great.
Cool.
I know, I wanted to make a couple comments on the previous item. For the sidewalk chalk thing, I highly recommend going on to the Cottonwood Festival's website for their sidewalk chalk forms and stuff like that. They have very comprehensive, like, well organized. So you can kind of probably mimic a lot of that. And then Squire Park is another opportunity that is arising. I think it's June 3rd.
It's the 5th.
June 5th, Thursday, June 5th. That's the actual in-park meeting.
No, we're doing Vivian Field on the 5th.
Oh, that was the 5th. Okay,
And then we're doing an in-park meeting. We moved it to the 25th, the one that got canceled.
okay,
So that will be on,
Wednesday.
yes, that's Wednesday, the 25th. And then the other one is, I think, Thursday, the 5th
Okay,
of June. Yeah.
cool. 'Cause I was worried I was gonna miss that one, but the June, the 25th one might be an opportunity where we could add some kind of art component too. Cause they already have some existing sidewalks. They're only like 4 foot wide in most areas, but
Yep. We
there's gonna
had
be a
that on
DJ
our
and
list of
stuff all
things
there.
to look at. It's just not, that's not associated with the West Side Trail.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think for Squire, we already have that one programmed out and that one's pretty much, we've touched all the bases, but we also want that to be a time for the neighbors in that area to come together to decide what they want in their neighborhood versus like a huge, like inviting the entire city to come out. Because then those neighbors kind of, their voices kind of get overshadowed, so.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Like, the reason that I was bringing it up is because adding a component of sidewalk chalk where, drop some outlines and the kids are being entertained
Yeah,
while the adults are being able to like give their input.
yeah, I mean, we can look at it, but we'll definitely try and keep within the art district, but we can look at it. If not, at the June 25th event, then maybe at another one, because I'm pretty sure we'll have more, before the actual final design comes out. Maybe we'll do like a playground reveal out there, where we can have different components where it's a come and go for the entire city to see what the neighborhood kind of chose and picked out.
And the historical park does do rock painting once a month.
Mhm.
So that's been ongoing and it coincides with CFB and the art installation that we did there in March.
Yeah.
So that has been going on here.
No, we love those.
Yeah.
We love
So
getting
if an
more. of
artist
them.
ever wanted to come and
Yeah.
pop up and, be part of it, great. It's free and we get pretty good attendance on it.
For the installation for the West Side Art Trail, is there likely lighting already planned to go in with the pieces, or that would be an
And we were looking at that. There's no lighting on the current one.
Okay,
There, and I guess we just have to see where where the board wants to put them all. My thought is it's probably they didn't put lighting because there's quite a bit of street lighting in the area, so, it's just added cost to be able to add lighting to it, so, and I don't know, maybe need more lighting than others. I don't know. I recall some of the pieces, but not all of them, so, I would like to be consistent and probably not light it initially, unless it's something that, the board's like, well, this one really needs to be lit, then I think we can look at it.
Could you ask Mercer developers for their illumination plans, site plans? Because that would be, because, a lot of the times if they're done well, then you can see like what the target area is for the illumination to hit so that, we don't place it in an area that's not covered.
I would just say, when you guys are placing it, look at where street lighting is in the area, proximity of it. And I mean, I think that's, and you can even pull that stuff up on Google Map or whatever too. And
So like the one that's currently there has a light on the other
Yes.
side of the tree.
yeah, there's medium
So
lights there,
there's-
so.
Lights down the median that
Mhm.
really,
Yeah, that's the piece that you can see going one direction down the street, and then when you come the other way, you do not see it.
so can we chop down the tree?
Never.
Why not? Chop
There's
down
maybe in
one
the
tree,
park,
you replace it with two. It's, what is it? You cut off its head, it's, grows back 30. I mean, it's just the idea.
Is it expensive to install those lights that just, are on the ground and shoot up?
Well, yeah, anything you gotta get electrical too.
You gotta route the electrical.
Yeah, we got-
You might be able to get away with like a solar panel.
Yeah,
You might be
solar,
able
but
to
I'm
do some
thinking.
solar out there. I think all the controllers are on solar for the irrigation, so.
But you've got electrical running out there.
Yeah, there's power out there, so I don't think it'd be hard to get power to them.
Yeah, and I have pictures up and down the street of where I thought.
And
they
that,
should
maybe
go.
that's a phasing thing, I mean, my guys can, city staff can go put the foundations in and get them moved and secured.
Mhm.
Maybe the next phase can be, we'll look at some pricing to do light. And probably if we did that, we just like the other ones as well. Just do them all.
Like that one that's an empty spot, used to have a tree, it's got irrigation, so it's already got something
Right.
over there.
Officially gotten in the weeds.
No, we're in the trees.
Okay,
love
anything
it.
else from art and culture and public spaces?
Nope. Those were all of our pieces.
Oh, Bonnie,
Yes, so I got an email from Megan with Economic Development and one of the businesses, Zuri Furniture on Alpha. They have a piece of art that they're wanting to see if the city is trying to, they want to remove the sculpture in front of their building, and they asked the Arts and Culture Committee if they wanted the sculpture or could help in the relocation. So I was hoping Art and Public Spaces can reach out to the gentleman and come up with.
So I move yes.
We'll take it.
Perfect.
and then the electrical boxes are gonna be
Oh, yeah.
installed this summer.
So electrical
moving forward.
boxes, we have a list that we are finalizing, and I reached out to Public Works and working with them to make sure that they're not being replaced, and the sizing, and working with our marketing, Rachel Johnson. So we do have plans to move forward with that in the very near future. And by the end of our fiscal year, which is September 30th, we should have some electrical boxes wrapped. No, traffic signal boxes,
Yeah.
actually, is what they.
Excellent. Okay, are we ready to move on to artist outreach?
I'm ready.
I'm excited to hear
Thank
this.
you.
Okay, so we had an event, I don't remember what date it was, but we had an event at the
April
Rec
30th.
Center on April 30th. And it was good. It was a good dry run. The one issue that we had was attendance was low, and that was due to, there had been a big storm that day, that afternoon, but more so than that, publicity, we didn't plan far enough ahead for publicity. So we want to do another one in the fall. Our lead time got shorter and shorter and shorter, and we just didn't have enough time. But we did have all the people who attended were people who didn't attend prior events.
Right.
So they were new. They were not in the directory currently. So that was good. So these were new people. Got some good input from them. And as a result of that meeting and other discussions, here are a list of things that we think need to happen in order to improve the artist outreach program that we've got. So the first thing is the artist directory, and most of these things have to do with the artist directory. Number one is to clarify online the qualifications for being in the directory. I had somebody tell me over the weekend that she does not live or work in Farmers Branch, and she submitted herself to be in the directory, and she said it doesn't say anywhere on there that you have to be a live or work in Farmers Branch, but that was the intent. And so that needs to be clarified. And I don't know if we need to put some kind of a checks and balances in there to verify.
Well, it gets added, like you submit the information and then it gets added once it's reviewed. So
I did get a couple of them here and
one of them was probably me testing it out.
um, Jenna and Danielle. Are you either one?
No, it would have been Jen or Jennifer
Mm-mm.
Evans.
I mean, and they have questions. I was gonna
Okay.
pass it on. to
So there
you
is
guys.
a review. I mean, and she also said, and I put it in, I entered, and then I wasn't on there. And I said, well, it doesn't happen instantly. Somebody takes that information and inputs it. So
Mhm.
I cleared that up for her. But, she did have a point that there was nothing on there that said what the qualifications were. So we probably should make that clear. Okay.
And did you wanna have your input since you were on that subcommittee that I thought it was Farmers Branch, you had to be.
No,
but-
she's right. It is supposed to be live or work in Farmers Branch. I was just unaware that it didn't say that across the top. I thought it did at one point and maybe it's changed.
The one question.
I didn't, double check her to verify.
Yeah,
But this person is pretty,
No, it absolutely could have changed.
Yeah.
Things have
Yeah,
morphed through the years, so.
Right.
we
But
want
as
the
this-
police to be
no,
added back.
yeah, well,
as this asset grows, and I expect it will, we need to be clear about
Sure.
that. So, so that was a good catch on her part.
Sure.
But,
We had talked about possibly clarifying it for schools too, like Brookhaven specifically, right?
what students who,
Yeah, students.
I would say that qualifies as works
Yeah.
in Farmers Branch. You attend,
Live, work, or study.
yeah.
There we go.
There you go. And also, if you are, like an art association, like the Carrollton Farmers Branch Art Association, I advise them, I think it's probably okay for you guys to have a listing as an art association, even though you don't meet in, they meet at the Carrollton Library, but they represent Carrollton and Farmers Branch
Mhm.
artists. And I said, I think that's fine. And then, people can find you that way. Okay. So, then what to do with the directory is really the bigger question. And so we have some recommendations. First of all, once you sign up to be, in the directory and assuming that you made the qualifications, we feel like it would be good PR good for enticement for the, artists on the directory and good for the city. That once you sign up, you are given a sign, like a yard sign that says, I am a Farmers Branch artist or something like that, that has city logo stuff on it. And then they can put it in their yard and they can use it at a booth. If we have, Gateway to the Globe or some event and we have artist booths, wouldn't it be nice if for Farmers Branch residents to look around and say, I might buy from them or them. Ah, that person's my neighbor. And I maybe want to give my money to them instead, or, it's community building. You meet more people that live in your area if you know that that's that they are not coming from Plano or Oklahoma or something to be in this thing, that they maybe live right down the street from you. So we think that should happen. We think that that if you are in the artist directory, that if you have a booth or if you sign up for an event to show or something, that there should be discounted or waived booth fees if you are a resident of Farmers Branch and you are in the directory. I think that's a good perk. And then the bigger item is promotion by the city. And there are some, I think, really easy things that can be done to promote this directory, because right now, the only people who really know that there's a directory are the people who are in the directory. It's not promoted right now. And it was a great idea to have this. And I'm glad that it's there. But now it's just time for next steps, right? Just to build on what's been already created, right?
and there is a button on the website that does link that too.
Link
Like,
what?
To show the listing of the artist directory.
Right.
So if people are looking
If
for
they're,
things
yeah,
to do in the city or whatever, you can go to the arts and
Gotcha.
culture page.
Gotcha.
And there is a artist directory button.
That's good. I'm glad to know that. What we think ought to happen, or we would like to see happen, is a PR package put together by the city that says, this is what we have. This is an asset that we have. And take that to the Chamber of Commerce, take that to local businesses, and you know, and push it and let people know that it's there, because if people don't know it's there and don't understand what it's for, what it means,
Mhm.
then it's just taking up space on our website.
Yeah, because the Commerce could look at it and be like, oh, we need a musical group or,
Mhm.
you know, soloist or something
Mhm.
like that. They can look at that and pull someone from there. If for some reason they want like an arts demonstration or something like that, maybe someone that's like a muralist or, you know, a large canvas painter
Exactly,
could
exactly.
do
And
something live.
I know that there are economic development events that happen occasionally. I think there's one tomorrow night with medical, focusing on medical businesses in the area. Wouldn't it be nice if somebody was there to say, guess what, all you medical people, we have this art directory, and if you want art for your office, you know, perhaps you want in your hallways, a rotating display of art from local artists. That's good PR for the city. That's helpful to local artists. You wouldn't necessarily have, you could purchase art from the artists, but you could also give them a venue for showing their art, and you could get, you know, art on loan temporarily. I think that would be great. Also, if these, businesses have an event coming up, they want to do a Christmas party, they want to do an open house, they want to do something, and they would like to have some live music, or something like that, they could come to the directory and look at that. I think these things are not, they're easy to promote and easy to add onto an agenda for any economic development event, Chamber of Commerce meeting, those sorts of things. So that's the recommendation. Also, you know, just some smaller things like utilize the TV screens at the city, you know, at the recreation center at City Hall or whatever, and have it, you know, another page that flips up. Did you know we have an artist directory online? Here's the QR code, or here's how you get to it. That's easy. And also on social media to do the same sort of thing, to have a slide that pops up now and then that says, did you know? And if you are a local artist, did you know that you qualify for a free listing? And with that free listing, you get a yard sign and you get promotion from the city and you get discounted whatever. So that is our recommendations. And again, point of order, I would like to type this up and then present
Yes, give
it
it
to Bonnie.
You can give it to me.
Give it to you. Do I need to make a motion to say we as a committee recommend these things and would like for you now to take it to the city? Is that how that works?
I don't think it's an action item. I think, if you want to give me the new, artists that came to the artist exchange, we'll add it to the artist directory and,
Well, they know, yeah, they know how to do that. What I'd like is to give you a list of the, like the go-tos. We need to clarify that on the website. We
Sure.
recommend a
If you
PR
wanna do that,
package. We
You can email it
recommend,
to me.
okay,
Absolutely.
excellent.
And I could do some behind the scenes work and ask questions and find some answers for you.
That would
And
be
we
great.
could, yeah, update the website and see what kind of money we can come up with to maybe do some yard signs and have one designed, in-house and do a couple of things like
That would
that.
be-
I think,
that would be
yeah,
great.
I think the recommendations are fabulous and
Good.
I love to promote, within the community.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, I think so too. And
Fantastic.
it makes it a better place to live if you know that you're kind of being appreciated for what you do.
Absolutely.
One last thing that I forgot is, as we were talking about how would people sign up to do something? The consensus from this artist outreach event was we would like for there to be one place online on, the website where all upcoming events that vendors could sign up for, whether you're selling your art or you want to, you know, display your, or, you know, or you want to perform or something. How do you sign up and what are the upcoming events? Because we have historical park events, we have Parks and Rec events, we have all of these things, and there's not a unified place. And it would be hard, I think, I mean, I'm on this committee and I don't know how to sign up for something in the city to.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't part of the issue that those events fall under different city departments? And so there's not unification because of that simple fact?
Well, one thing, so the city has, prior to like the historical park going to tourism, so I guess 2 years ago, the communications department, which has since changed, but we still want to continue on with the goal is to unify all events. So PD, fire, parks and recreation, all different city events and have it be literally the community, Farmers Branch community events. Have a website that has all of that. And then if you want to click on it, sure, it'll route you to the different pages of the different departments. But the residents are they just want one page that has everything on
A
it.
calendar, what's happening this
What?
weekend?
Yes.
That's what.
That would be so
Yes,
great. We
and
would
so-
love that.
Yes, so I know Rachel
would love
Johnson, yeah, she's been, that's been one of her big projects. She's just been working lots of different, the city went under rebranding.
Sure.
But now, and Robert will speak to this shortly, but now that the historical park is back under Parks and Recreation and it's one, we can do that. Another thing is the y'all's board has plenty of funds in this year's money. If those funds are allocated to different things, you can request additional funds. Of course, it's up to staff and kind of the city's direction of what we want to do. But if there is a huge outcry and we need these PR boxes, for example, that might be something that might have to wait for a following fiscal year, just for budget constraints and situations.
boxes.
The
It might
PR
be
boxes to go to the chamber
Oh,
and businesses and
The
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you like, we can
I mean, that
outsource.
could be even a flyer. That could be even one thing and somebody talking about it and
Yeah.
handing it out.
Yeah, and so just looking at the funds and if the park has additional marketing funds that they may not be utilizing for this fiscal year, that could be a way to pay for that within the budget. We can also do Peach Jar with CFBISD, with Dallas ISD and hit just the Farmers Branch residents. It costs money though. And so having all of that information on paper, so that way the staff can then look at it and say, okay, this is what our board currently asks, this is what we have, but for next fiscal year, we want to add, $2,000 to it for whatever those items are. You guys can do that collectively as a board, give that recommendation to staff. Bonnie will then go back to Hillary, which is the manager, and they'll discuss the need. We can't necessarily everything you guys want, like add that to the budget. Fortunately, we just don't have that kind of a budget here, Farmers Branch. So we want to be mindful of what we're asking for, but there are some things like emailing things to the school district and hitting the residents. It's at a low cost and it really doesn't take a lot of staff efforts or y'all's voluntary efforts, but you're able to still get the message out.
And that's what we've been trying to do is come up with ideas that are kind of low hanging fruit,
Yeah.
Easily acted upon, inexpensive, but will have a good impact.
And I believe Hillary did email out your.
Yeah, but it interfered with the holiday weekend and so it didn't go out.
It was, I got
on Monday.
I'm on that and I got an invitation like a week and a half before the
Yeah,
event.
and I
And it
think
was
it
a
was
rainy
given
day.
to her,
Well,
so we just have to
exactly.
do it more.
We underestimated as a
Yeah.
subcommittee how much lead time the city needed.
Yeah.
And so we have learned.
Mhm. Great, so moving forward, we'll just
Yeah.
start earlier, absolutely.
Exactly.
So yeah, if you want to get me a list of stuff and we can look at all the items. I
would love
love all your recommendations, fantastic job, Rita.
Good, thank you. Well,
Thank
Good
you.
job.
committee, Chris and Jennifer and
Yes,
The sign.
good job to the.
The Bar Center, is that something about strategic development?
that's, yes, strategic planning, yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to arts and culture festivals. Dawn.
Well, I think we need to kind of talk a little bit about, we might be looking at changing the date. It's very important when we
For
look at.
Branch Arts
For
Live.
Branch Arts Live, it's very important for us to try to keep the extra work down for the city as far as setting up stage. And so if we can kind of connect it to another event, it might be.
This is because the Bluegrass Festival.
That's gone,
Moved.
so
Okay.
we tacked on to that, and so then we came up with a date of October 19th, but now the stage might be somewhere else, so we're just trying to figure out the logistics of what would be the best for the city in order to not cause extra work with things. So we're kind of flexible, with looking at possibly changing that date and maybe tacking it on to something else. So we're kind of fluid right now with the date and what that might look like. But I think we have enough leeway that we can be flexible. And I know that Amy is still working on, food to be at the Branch Arts Live. So it's all kind of work in progress, but I think next month we might have more information moving.
We've got
forward.
some work to do.
So, Yeah.
Yeah, so my only question is, if the stage is being used, on Saturday for Halloween in the park, we did get an okay to be able to tag on to that on Sunday. The stage is 8 feet smaller, on one way. Is there any way we can add panels after the event is over that Saturday night? So then Sunday morning they can come in and put the Marley down and stuff? How much effort is that to do that after a big event?
So I think it's very doable. That's something that we
Okay.
can rent out, no problem at all. One thing I discussed with Robert and he gave the thumbs up. And so what I have the team working on now is numbers for me. And so what I would like to do is be able to financially support this event from the city's standpoint. And so still continue with y'all's voluntary efforts to outreach and different things. But if you wanted to have it that first or second Saturday in October, then we can rent a tent for you and we can pay for all of those things. Because I've heard it at this art and culture meeting. Jennifer Evans has mentioned it at our events review subcommittee, and I've heard it from the residents. And so it's you guys have done such a great job. We want to continue to help elaborate it and grow this event. And we would still keep it, this next year, how you guys have planned it. But the funds would just come so that way you're not having to switch to different weekends. You're not having to worry about, you can rent a stage that they'll come and set it up at whatever dimensions you want. And so I have the team working on that. And then, so I had them do the tent, the stage, food for your volunteers, water and, security. So, if we need barricades, so that way people can walk down the street, those, what are they called now? So that way the cars can't come down the street. Those are, we can pretty much find everything else in our storage. But that type of stuff I think is really important to rent, and the cost the cost they gave me is really low. It's not too much. And so I think it's something that we can fund within the special events budget or the historical park budget. And then either one, we can then let you guys kind of do what you had already planned and had in mind. And us not having Bloom and Bluegrass shouldn't, be a hamper on y'all's planning of your event. Because it's unfortunate, but I still want you guys to have, that same weekend every year. Like it's a tradition. And so,
Thank you for that.
yeah, so Robert was like.
This is great
"Yeah, we can
news.
do that." We just talked about that like a few hours ago. We just
So
we just talked
excited.
about it.
Yay.
So in.
really should have led with that.
We could just rent one for you guys.
So then if that was
the right
gonna
size.
go.
Yeah.
It's really great.
It's-
You just
I
made my
think-
day.
I think the approach probably needs to be, because Bluegrass is gone, that was a lot of funding for that. So this would be whatever number we come up with, we'll try to just replace it. And of course, it has to go through the budget process to see, but
Right.
I think packaging it with whatever new events the events subcommittee comes up with. It's kind of the whole package, and we'll push that through, whatever we get done with that, and then but yeah, to me, it's, it's an event the community wants, they're looking forward to, and there's no reason to have it nickel and dime it. We need to be able to, and now that the Bluegrass, we can't use that staging. I mean, it was convenient when it was there before, but so that way, whatever date. I mean, it'd have to be after October if we look at funding for
October
next year.
19th is what it's
So-
planned for.
Yeah, so.
And they've already rented the park, so they already have the contract to rent, so the park is rented, so.
Well, that's
You can-
exciting.
Well, budget's moving, we'll know. I mean, last year budget kind of really stretched out late into the summer, but, I mean, of course, it's not final till August, but we'll see because I know June meeting for the subcommittee is pretty critical. We're still, trying to get everything kind of wrapped up, and we can just make this part of that. So,
And the city can do a hard push with marketing outreach. So we can cover those funds because it is a city sponsored event.
Excellent. Well, thank you
Wow.
so much.
Thank you.
That's
We
just-
are so glad you guys.
Dawn is like gobsmacked over there.
So start thinking about ways that we can tack on to like the dance part of it with
Well, we've
like,
been wanting to
Visual
have eventually
Yeah, yeah.
musicians and, you know,
Yeah.
growth from there and have artists, live art, arting
Yeah.
in the park.
Yeah.
Arting in the park.
Riding in the park.
Yeah.
That's what the event review subcommittee has strongly advised as well.
Well, excellent.
Great.
And another thing is when I was volunteering for that, people, and I was at the information table, people were asking me, is there any place to get something to drink? And can I buy you some water? So to have some
It was. quite-
refreshments out there.
It was
Yeah, but
quite-
that wasn't something that was provided, but now that it's going to
That-
be bigger,
well,
it could
the
be.
profession she was talking about was for this like volunteers and stuff like that. But if we can get like.
But-
No, I mean, dancers were coming, I mean, lots of people were coming
Yeah.
up to that
Oh.
table saying, where can I get some?
Yeah,
bottled
it was,
water?
it was quite toasty that day.
Yeah, but
So,
yeah,
it was
and-
beautiful. But yes, but
Maybe
we
we could have the
definitely.
Friends of the Historical Park sell water bottles as well. That can be a great
Yeah.
fundraising opportunity.
Doesn't have to be anything fancy, it's just people just want something to drink.
Love that. Yes. Well, thank you so much. That just made my day. I can't beat that. I don't know what else.
All right,
to say.
next.
I know, right? Thank you.
It's like Christmas here.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, do we have anything else under festivals or we're good?
Check, done.
I know.
Moving on. Okay. Strategic planning. We got some exciting stuff there, right?
No, that's you. It was gonna be David, but David was not able to attend tonight.
Yeah, we both said, it's David, and then he's like, I will be there. So, we met on, I guess that was Monday, wasn't it?
Yes.
And we had a very short meeting for about 3 hours. And oh, it was only 2. And we went through, as you remember last week, we talked about strategic planning's goal and purpose as we defined it was really to get things and be able to push them to the subcommittees. So you've actually heard 2 of the subjects that we discussed, one of them under the artists and the art directory piece, and the other over art in the city. So you've already seen part of where the strategic committee was trying to make sure the information was getting pushed and developed within those. So the third one is, excuse me, somewhat of a question, and I know we've had this question before. It is, how do we put forward as a committee to the city so that we can say, we would like to find ways to go after art-specific grants? The conversation can be very open there, but it's the idea of, do we need to find a partner that comes in and matches to apply for a grant in order to bring more artists to an event? Or because we're looking, there's budget constraints, so we want to have more things happening from an art perspective. How do we go apply for these grants that are out there? It's not us, it's the city, we get it. But what do we need to be doing strategically to make sure those recommendations and the process kind of has someone pushing that along, not just to give you more stuff to do, but
And this ties back to.
we want to be the catalyst, I guess, to say, how do we go after grants? Because we either have partners that are going to help fund and match, because a lot of grants are matching grants as opposed to flat out granting from foundations, or just being able to say, we now have a Branch Arts Live. And so that's a reason to go to an Arts Foundation of Texas and ask for funding to support that, to make it even bigger. And so that's kind of our next step, is how and what do we do as a arts and culture committee to start that process with you guys.
We have a grants coordinator. Her name is Addison Holmes, I believe. And so what we would do is, after taking these meeting notes, staff would then kind of get with her to kind of entertain the idea, see what, if it's within her bandwidth. And then she would kind of drive the boat, but it would be on staff. So it kind of have to check her availability, staff's availability. And then I think there's like criteria, because we can't just go after any certain grants, but she would be able to specify what she would need from the subcommittee that goes through Bonnie before we can even move forward.
Okay.
down that avenue.
So would that be where if we were having a strategic subcommittee meeting, she could come to it and discuss that? We can have it during the day, during working hours if we have to. We can do it on Zoom or whatever.
I think I would prefer for Bonnie and her to meet first and discuss all of that before, so just so that way Bonnie is prepared before she comes and meets with you guys.
Sure.
And then we can have some dialogue there, but if they can at least get the ground, because it might be where it's a certain time frame where she will accept new applications for new grants. And so I'll wait for you guys to kind of put that on the next schedule, and it may be a few months out, but I do think it's something that we can definitely entertain, because who doesn't like free money through grants? But it's not always free. There's always hanging things.
No, there are
yeah.
caveats to all of it.
Yeah.
We understand that.
Yeah.
That's why we were asking it that way is one, what do we need to do to start it? Two, so that we as a committee, not just the strategic subcommittee, but as a committee can say, these are the things we'd like to look for grants for. Whether it's expanding on Branch Arts Live, or it might be what we do with the global event from an Arts and Culture Committee to build that more, or it might be the Art Walk, and what do we want to do to bring more artists in for that? So just as a committee, we still have a lot of decisions to make.
Yeah.
The question was, how do we start that process? So I think you've answered that. So Bonnie, we've just given you one more thing to have
Well,
to do.
Hillary spoke on this
Oh.
last year.
Okay,
She's a grant expert and has received many
Yay.
grants. And she said, you really need to come up with a project.
Yep.
And you're also, Brianna, you're also the grant expert. You want to talk, because you were in that meeting about that.
Yeah, so, for example, it would be looking at long-term, so kind of looking at what we've done this past year and what we're doing in the fall, and then saying, okay, if we see that was gonna be a thing that we do in fall of 26, you outline, because you're gonna have to be able to tell the line items of the budget, where the cost went, what the benefit was. You're also gonna have to have some of the statistical information of impact. You can collect that, but you would be looking at something for 2026.
right. No, we understand that.
Right, but you could use our projects that we're doing that are successful and seem to be making an impact as kind of like, this is a project that we could expand, and then you go and you kind of identify some grants out there that's what they're doing
match.
is.
For that
Yes.
subject matter.
Mhm. Because you already have a lot of the things in it, because that's what they want. They want to know where the money is actually going. And if you go and find a grant and try to build a project to match it, it's a whooping. Because
Yeah, much harder. No,
yes, yes.
I think we understand that part. We just wanted to say, what are the steps to make it start moving? So I think we have that. So Bonnie, if you can reach out and talk with, what was her name? Addison, and figure out how we might be able to have that conversation. And in the meantime, as a committee, we need to all get together and talk about, is it Branch Arts Live? Is it, some other event within our calendar to move forward and see if we can get some traction on it? Because I think what you just said about Branch Arts Live and all the conversations happening around that, while the city's putting some money to say, let's keep this moving and doing something with it, how can we also look beyond that? And I'm kind of speaking way forward there, the cart's way out in front of everything. We've got to make some of those decisions. We just wanted to, as a strategic subcommittee, say, how do we move that so that we can have that conversation?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
just the
assume that
process.
Addison would want, she would want some of that information.
Yeah. So if you want to identify what you would like to look at, to go for, whether it is Branch Arts Live, and focus on one or two things for the future, then I could reach out to her and say, if any grants would fall under this, criteria for this type of event, we would be interested in looking at that and what the timeline is for the future of that. That's what I would do, is if you want to bring that to me on what do you want to focus on for a
Okay.
grant?
Great. So that's our next step. Get with Bonnie, talk about where we want to focus, and then it comes back to the next meeting to
If I can make
get
a
everyone agree.
suggestion as well, I think from a funding standpoint, because you gotta figure out where your match is gonna be from. So tourism and hot fund, which is the hotel motel fund, is very limited on what the funding that's there. The funding supports this park, it supports tourism, it supports economic development, and there's certain there's certain funding for all that is very limited. I think long-term, I think what might be good is for maybe arts and culture to look at, since now, and Bonnie asked me to say something earlier, the council did a sunset review last week. All the boards that were on there are good for another 5 years, so arts and culture is gonna be around for a while. So from I know we have Friends of the Historical Park is the nonprofit kind of fundraising arm of the park. I think it would benefit to maybe have some discussions about, I don't necessarily know if arts and culture needs to have another nonprofit, but maybe even work with the Friends group, have them be your arm, where you guys actually start to look at finding ways to raise money, to have that be your match. Or at least part of the match. And I think that benefits. So for example, for, Branch Arts Live, we could do, maybe there's a fundraising portion of that goes back toward art projects, installations. And you just start banking money. And then when you have a certain amount of money, boom, then you have identify a project, you have matching funds. That way, even if you can't hit it, maybe you go back and ask council, hey, we've raised this money, we have X amount, we need X amount to do it. I think there needs to be something, I think what would benefit the committee and overall is to be able for you all to start to develop, okay, we're gonna start making money on our own, fundraising and finding opportunities to do that. And we might even have opportunities at some of our events. I know the Friends group, they sell chairs, or rent chairs at events, and that's how they raise money. There could be other opportunities we have 4 big events now. We've got, you've got Christmas, you've got Halloween, we've got the Gateway event, and we've got, Independence Day. So those are big draws. You're talking 5, 6, we had 4,000 plus at Gateway. So, there's opportunities there if arts and culture with Friends group wants to be able to, and maybe you're just supporting their effort and they look at funding for you all. I don't know. That needs to be a conversation you have with the Friends group.
And that means the dollars are already allocated instead of this where they're like, well, we'll present it and then we're confidently waiting. It would be easier because then the match is already set aside.
And I think it shows council that you guys are an
There's
active
force
group
back.
and you're gonna go after what funding you want. I think our position in regards to Branch Arts Live is to just be able to give you some funding for your basic infrastructure, which I think is supported. And it could grow. We'll just see kind of what happens. But when it comes to like the other city I worked at, the art was, they used a couple of events to fundraise for and what they did is bank all the money and then that money went toward installation. So once they had so much money, then they would go, okay, well, let's look at a project. And then they do a call and all that kind of stuff. And so, I think long-term, that might make more sense to start looking that way. And like you said, then you're not having to wait.
Right.
If you guys go raise whatever you need, and then it's just a matter of, okay, we just need to find a project.
Yep.
And then.
You're speaking the language of where our brains are. We just needed to know
Yeah.
We need some
how to
information, yeah.
get through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, I think that's, now you've got, that's one of the things I think we're bringing to the table, the fact that we've got
Merge.
the backing of the events and things like that. So we want to give you guys an opportunity for that. So.
Great. Again, thank you for being here and
Yeah.
giving us where we need to go.
Two quick things. The other grant writer that we recently learned about was trained by the Kennedy Arts Center.
Oh, not trained by, I was the mentor they had the Arts in Crisis project back some time ago. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
We have more
But-
experience.
I was appointed to help people with just basic operations, including grant writing and what kinds of things, what do the questions really mean? How to answer them, how to be, succinct, how to be very complete and very comprehensive, but succinct. And, taking out a whole lot of, superfluous language about we got one, I used to review grants for the TCA too, and we got one that said, everyone knows how wonderful our organization is, and they know that we're capable of this, that, and the other, and I was like.
You don't need that fluff.
Nobody knows who you are, and you gotta tell us, why you're so good, and so, I mean, it's just that I've been doing this since 1975, so. I'm not great at it, I'm good. I'm good, and I think I'm maybe better than some people because I've been doing it for 30 years, so. But no, I got my grant writing training from just doing it. And getting advice, so TCA is wonderful, if you write a grant and you get it in early enough, they will train you how to make it better. And so it was the same thing with the Fort Worth Arts Council for a while, they're not quite as helpful anymore. So.
And the other
I'm not a professional grant writer, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. The other thing I wanted to ask, or maybe put in your radar, is in the same sense that we're asking like for grant money and stuff like that, how would the strategic development work to get sponsorships for events so that we could maybe have someone cover costs? Like, is that something that we have to go directly to y'all for, economic development?
You talking for like, what type of events? For Branch Arts Live?
Yeah, like if we had
Let's put that as
someone,
hypothetical.
yeah, someone.
Say a neighboring institution wanted to be a sponsor.
A neighboring institution that might be represented on this
See,
committee.
and I think that's one of the things that I really feel like, even from the grant standpoint, if you have a nonprofit that you're working with, be it friends or somebody, you're not having the city be your advocate, your nonprofit's your advocate, they're the ones you're working with for your funding. Your sponsorship could go through that avenue instead of being, it's always incumbent on the city to be able to make that happen for you. Because for us to go get a sponsor for your event, we're sponsors of the event, and our contribution is the facility and the infrastructure and some of those things. So for the event itself,
You answered it.
Yeah.
You don't have to keep talking. I think we know our charge at this point.
I just didn't know if there needed to be some clear communication, like if the brewery wanted to sponsor a tent or something like that, that they gave out like free sodas and waters.
We now know how to do it.
well, I think if there's questions on the types of sponsors for an event you're having here, I think
Right.
you just need to get with Bonnie or with Jessica and let's just see. I mean, and I think just use your, I would go after the sponsors that
Match
sense.
the audience.
Yes.
That's the audience.
Yeah.
So one of the things I recommend that people do is when you have something like this that you want to do, you need to go find similar organizations that are already doing it and ask them for their bylaws and if they have a manual of operations, or just, pick their brains and say, how do you do this? Because it's like lawyers call it a go by. So just find as many go bys as you can and then do things that already work. And don't try to do something new until you're churning and you're going. And that's kind of the best way to go about that. Okay.
Are you gonna talk about the Arts and Culture District?
We already had that in the last meeting when you were here.
These things? Okay.
Yeah.
One quick thing on that, if you want to look at this or get this QR code, I mapped it out so you can have this like little pink shape that shows up on your map so you can see where the Arts and Culture District is on your Google Maps. I'll leave that out for you for later.
Very fancy.
It is.
Cause they kept asking, where is it? Where is it? And that little map was a little wonky, when you zoom in on some of the streets, but at least
So
now you can see
I
it.
heard that existed, so my question would be just so that it's out there, so I'll direct it to Bonnie, even though it's probably coming back down here. How do we get a map like that to show up on the cultural district webpage? So you can
There
go,
is an
you can go
interactive
see
map.
it. But it looks like that, you know exactly what the boundaries are,
You can pop on each icon and it pops up and tells you what exactly.
but I have to be on that website. How do I get it where when I'm on my phone and I'm walking around on my Google Maps, because I've select, if I use her QR code, now on my Google Maps, it
Mhm.
tells me where I am within the district. So I don't have to be on the website.
Well, I just mapped it out and I can share that KMZ with the city where they can load it up on their
That'd
website.
be good.
That was the whole point of me creating it because.
Well, and the city probably, just knowing how mapping works and
GIS.
cost and so there's a lot of things with the GIS programming. But being able to do what you've done, but have the city do it where people get that quick access.
Yeah, the mapping that I pulled were shape files from the Dallas Central Appraisal District, so it's the boundaries that are there. Some of them I had to draw, but I was
Really
able to
get,
draw.
it's just about knowing how maps work within certain entities and costs and who can use and how you can use and represent.
Mhm.
We just need that where people can touch it and it's on their Google map and they own it now as a part of their Google program.
That sounds like something,
Brian.
or Rachel maybe, because it's more of a Google.
It's public access shape files, GIS shape files that I pulled, imported into.
But it
Google
almost,
and-
the goal of it
clicked.
is for you, when I pull up my Google map, it's gonna pull that up.
Yeah,
Yes.
So
if you check that
have
QR
to-
code and pull it, it'll pull right into
You
it.
have to tell, to me, and this has come up already a couple of times, is we have connection, like, for example, we did this for parks, like, we have to go to Google and tell them this is our park, otherwise, if somebody puts a pin in it already, then we don't own it.
Someone else is owning
Yeah, we
it.
have a Google account, and also we have to be really careful. I know you're a safe sender. We have to be really careful from a safety perspective on what we are attaching now to the website that could be encrypted on the backside. And so I know Rachel Johnson, because she gives us, each one of my facilities has their own Google account that we manage on the back end for reviews and stuff like that. So I assume she has one citywide that she can also do that. That seems like a project request though, that would come from Bonnie. So it won't happen as soon as you guys would like for it to, but it kind of gets in line on the list. But like Bonnie said, there is already a map. No, it's not at your fingertips like you would like it to be.
But if the
But we
map is
could work
there,
there.
how does that get, in a sense, imported from a data aspect to the Google map so they match up? And I work on Google map stuff all day long, so I understand how that works. I'm just looking for it to be where I don't have to be on the website all the time to see
Right.
what's there.
Right.
So that would kind of be the request, Bonnie, if you start that process.
Oh my gosh, Bonnie, you have so much homework.
You went on vacation and now you have stuff to do.
I've always said stuff.
Not lacking.
Thank you.
Okay. We good on that?
Mhm.
Good. Moving forward, sister cities.
Okay, so I don't know if y'all saw the council last night, but item C4 25-355, the mayor mentioned that he thought that committee was no longer occurring. I guess there's a miscommunication. He doesn't know that it's going on. It doesn't sound like anybody signed up to come, so.
So,
Amy could report on.
right, so the feedback we got from our sister cities is that they might be interested in reevaluating the program in 3 years. Therefore, at this time, I move that we sunset the committee and revisit it in 3 years.
In 3 years or in 2 years to
To
get
be
ready
able to
for it?
plan for
Well,
3
we
years.
can bring it back next month if we decide, so let's just go ahead and say
So
we're
do we need a motion for
we're
that?
sunsetting. Yes,
Who's
I need
making that?
somebody to move that we're
I
sunsetting.
so
the
move that we sunset the subcommittee for sister cities.
Excellent.
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Committee is sunset.
Alliteration right there, man.
And back to Jennifer for events review.
So we had our first events review committee and we talked about fishing fun and then we had some homework that was a little bit, some people brought good, feedback and some people are still trickling in feedback.
We hope.
Yeah, but the intent is to have that homework sent out so that we can have a good discussion about the upcoming events. And they're giving us like a couple of questions at a time so we can kind of delve into like what's good, what's bad, what can we remove, what can be added, how can we combine stuff? And for the most part, everybody was like, I don't think we need to get rid of anything. Maybe we can combine them. And that's where a lot of the discussion about pop-ups, adding up smaller events around the city where we can like utilize a musician or something like that, or tacking on to the other city events. That was the big thing. And then, you know, obviously we were able to get some Branch Arts Live movement. So we can keep that one in the
That's
city.
awesome.
Great. That was the big summary of it. We
So
also,
is the homework completed or it's a progress?
it's a progress. I didn't get those ones finished, but I got the questions for tonight, so I have stuff to do tonight.
And then you'll forward that to me,
yes,
so we
ma'am.
have that, okay. Perfect.
Yes, as of early this week, one more person was asking if they could turn in their homework from the last time, so. As far as the events review committee, one of the things that we've already
Ronnie,
talked
you were
about
on
here.
that, so you should, it's labeled May homework.
I saw the homework. I
Okay.
just didn't know, I didn't see the completion of it.
Yeah, I hadn't.
Oh, no.
You know.
I don't have that.
Yeah, no, I saw the,
Oh,
yeah, in my mind.
yeah, like more than half of the members didn't complete
Okay,
the.
that's what I was like, did I miss that?
No.
Over 900.
There were 3 done and then there were
Have to
a bunch
withhold
that came
their
afterwards.
Yeah.
So it's okay, though, it's an ongoing thing, that's fine.
Yeah.
But as you get information, if you could, let me know, just pass it on so we can put it under our notes. That'd be great, under a memo.
The other 2 big things that got brought up in our events review committee is the calendar, trying to make one cohesive calendar, which is, I'm glad that Rachel's working on that. And then the other thing was a sign out front of the Star Center or the new complex to show where the arts culture district is and the items that are, like parks and businesses that are there and, possibly reaching out to the businesses to get sponsorships for, the structure that houses that signage. So that the city isn't
Talking about one sign or a few
Like
in the
the-
perimeter of the district?
a couple outside of the main entrances, maybe, maybe one out of the big main entrance, but at least, wherever the main flow of traffic of people are coming in and out, it would be nice to have one in front of each of those. And
At the Star Center,
either not the Star Center, the new
Rise.
entertainment,
So
yeah.
right outside it on the street, there is where it says the historical park this, it does say at the bottom of that sign on the road, Arts and Culture District. The problem with that is that all of that is under construction right now.
Right.
And we eventually want to do some traffic signal wrapping and stuff along there that'll identify that more. Also, there's a street topper sign that is right there at DART. So it does label it as the Arts District. It's just with all the construction and everything. It's still new, but that is, something that we definitely want to add more signage, and whether that's add more street topper signs or in the way of wrapping a second tier of traffic boxes based on contest in the fall or whatever you all decide to do that way.
Yeah,
But there is an arts and culture district sign, a green sign that when you enter into Farmers Branch on Valley View under 35, there is one on the right, but with all the construction, and they're always changing the lanes and the direction, and if you can even live through that. Like,
Yeah.
I go all the way, or I live right there, but I go all the way around. Like, I got a call like, hey, can we go down the detour sign? Because I don't even know, and I live right here. So, yes, those are
think that-
great.
Yeah, I think that signage is great, and I think it's a great first step. I think what Jennifer's talking about is a map. What's in the district?
yeah,
What
like
is
one of those
the-
you are here maps that shows the
Okay.
pictures that you can see.
Here's the firehouse.
You're
here's the
3 miles away
restaurants,
from
here's
the Hoya Park, you're, and like highlighted in green and
Yeah.
the businesses.
That's
number
exactly what it is.
down at the bottom, that, you can reach out to them and get them to sponsor some of the creation of the map or the housing for the.
They have exactly that downtown Dallas in their art.
Yes,
center.
I look.
Downtown Dallas map.
So to piggyback off of that, you know, we're huge advocates for kind of keeping the money for the residents, right? And so having that would be great. And I think it's a long-term goal. But it's gonna take a lot of resources and it is gonna be kind of costly. And so one thing that the team and I, what we did is we took back and kind of discussed was to partner and get and build that relationship with the Star Center, which we have it with the hockey rink, but not the multi-sport complex. And after last weekend, they had a basketball tournament and they all like invaded my recreation center. I'm like, I need to pick back up on that note page and build that relationship. I believe there's obviously contacts who book these bookings. And so can we email them the information, like what's coming up this month? And oh, we're gonna be there, you know, for volleyball this month, because it's a lot of out of towners. And so they're not from Farmers Branch. And yeah, we want to invite them and show them what Farmers Branch has to offer. But I think as far as like for funding and staff resources, we really want to stick to the root, which is our residents, and try to maybe use that time to program different, you know, arts, chalking, walking things, and just the different things that the residents can actually touch and feel versus putting all of our resources into the signage, inviting the non-residents to overcrowd the resident events. So again, I'm not saying like it's not doable, it's definitely doable. I just think like, let's get those resources and let's send them out digitally. Let's see what kind of steps we get, the foot traffic we get, and then let's go from there. But I think that's great. That's a great marketing tool, and they obviously know where our buildings are and where things are at because they were all at the rec center last weekend for a 3-day basketball tournament. So I'll definitely make note of that and circle back up. Maybe like in 6 months we can discuss it.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where I realized there's still infrastructure being built and, you know, finalized, and then there's more businesses that are coming because of it. But, you know, like eventually down the road, it would be nice to have a sign that kind of looks like that. Or, you know, like this, that has a map that says you are here and, you know, graphic representation of, hey, I'm standing here, only like, you know, half a mile this way, there's like 4 restaurants that we can go
So I
check
know
out.
we have to go
Instead of all
permitting.
hopping in their car and going to McDonald's.
Yeah, we'll have to go through permitting,
Yeah.
even for our H-frame signs that we did like for Branch Connection, like now we're open. Rachel Johnson had to get like legal specifics because everything has to be a certain size and you have to be able to read it. And so there's just a lot that would go into it. And it's also, well, I guess it is city property, right?
Mhm.
The Star Center.
Yes.
Yeah, so great idea. Let's keep it on the board, but we'll just push it down a little bit.
Anything else, Jennifer?
I think that covers the majority of it for now. The events review committee has, you know, is gonna have the homework assignments and we're gonna have more focused discussions. Hopefully people come prepared.
Do your homework.
Yeah, is there anything that y'all want me to convey to them? I feel like as we're having discussions, I kind of chime in a lot to say some of the stuff that we have in our discussions here to disseminate there.
I would just say, any events that, that artists can participate in, there ought to be a very easily accessible online, application or sign up or something for it.
Yeah, rather than having like the Gateway to the Globe one where you sign up and then the Independence Day one, it would be nice to have one centralized one. I think someone else on another board actually mentioned it would be nice to also kind of have an idea of what are some of the constraints on getting some of those pop-up events going. You know, not just security, but also like what, like, parking or any kind of weather hazard plans and stuff like that. Some of the things that we don't think about that can help us to like narrow or more directly target these pop-up events so that they'll be successful.
I have a
Yeah, make a
question.
note and bring it to the.
I have a question about pop-up events. Can you define what you consider a pop-up event?
So we had, 2 weeks ago, we had a family night pop-up event at the rec center. And so it was, I think it was like $15 for your entire family, whether you had 5 or 10 kids, family members. It was a fun night. They had pizza, they had drinks, no cousins, anybody within the household can come. Seriously, it's that cheap and it's that great. They decorated, they themed it out. They had games going on in the Magnolia room. They had crafts going on and the pecan room. And then they had like dinner style set up for pizza and cupcakes and juices and another room. And it was just a great time to mingle with your neighbors and have your kids there too. It was indoors, so we didn't have to worry about a contingency plan with raining or anything like that, doing it outdoors. And so what we plan to do is kind of do that at like our different parts as well. But we've got to kind of build that family that wants to, those families that want to come, because we'll do parents night out, kids night out. Those are what we consider pop-ups. And so what we consider a community event is like things that we do out here at the park, or like daddy daughter, where you're seeing like more than 200, 300 people come.
Okay, so pop-up is defined by the size of the anticipated crowd?
Yes, I would say.
Okay.
What is the targeted size for something like that?
It depends. So it depends on the division that's putting it on. And so like for our dog park events, we want to try and stay about 500
That's a
and
lot.
below. Yeah, they get a good turnout. They get.
And that's considered pop-up?
Yeah,
500?
yep, that's considered a pop-up. Also low budgeted events. And so you have marketing, but you don't have hard pushes where you're gonna draw big crowds. Low budgets are pop-ups. I would say, we've had instructor type pop-up classes as well, where it's instructor led, but it's sponsored by the city. So we still help advertise and push that out. We consider that as a pop-up. Kind of what the events review subcommittee is like, having someone at the amphitheater by City Hall doing a pop-up. So we'll have maybe one food truck that does food and drinks, non-alcoholic probably. And then you have a musician up on the amphitheater. So it's like music on the lawn or something like that. That's just a quick pop-up. A gathering of a few hundred people, minimal staff, so minimal expenses on the city, and call it a night.
Yeah, and so those are what, when we talked earlier, how did you add chalking for the kids while the music's going?
Yeah.
Just cultural art into those things. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think some of the feedback, Jennifer, you can speak to this, that when I've been to the subcommittee has been, I think the last one I went to, it was evident that we do a really good job with family events in the city, and the big ones we do are all family oriented. But I think we were hearing some feedback on more adult type events. So when we say pop-up, like Jess was describing is, it's date night type events, where it's more, I can leave the kids at home or let mom and grandma and grandpa watch them, and then we can go out for a couple hours and chill out. So I think some of those might be in addition to maybe some that are more family or, kid oriented.
I think that's cool.
So I think just having the good mix, I think is where we're, now that our senior center is back open, the Branch Connection, I think we've got our mixers going. That they had one this week, and we had 80 people at it, which is just music. And what they have refreshments and that kind of thing. And we do those once a week or once a week. So that's a pop-up. And that's kind of a pop-up event. We just provide the facility and.
This is a very targeted audience.
Is it the dance? Like you have
Monday
Nate
night.
Tanner or some of those different beach,
We've been doing them at the venue when the Branch Connection was, but then we just moved back this past Monday.
So I think speaking to that event specifically, I think there's a major market that you can tap into, because I used to belong to a lot of these ballroom clubs. They're all dying because of the expense. Because the clubs, like we've been at Dallas Country Club, Northwood, Prestonwood, they're moving one of ours to Lakewood, because the food costs keep going up, because it's the rental of the hall and the bringing in the band. A lot of times we have to put up a floor because there's not a floor space. So my point to you is that entire market is your 55 plus, and all those clubs are dying, and all those people want somewhere to go to dance.
And that makes sense, because my Branch Connection manager shared with me yesterday that a good portion of the 85, 90 people that were there were not members. They were paid, they paid.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if I can get you some directories and we can do some,
Yeah.
all those clubs have directories. And it might be great. They looked at Brookhaven Country Club and for some reason there was something that was not great about going to Brookhaven. I really tried to get them to go there because it'd be super easy for me. But if we could swing to the Branch Connection, that might be a great way to capture that. And I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of
It's a
people.
beautiful facility
Yeah.
too.
I need to go look at it.
I
So,
wanna go see the
Yes.
new.
so I can probably get some of those directories to you so that you
Okay.
can tap into that market.
Yes, we will.
The mayor will be happy that I'm plugging this, but next Thursday, he's having his town hall, state of city, yeah,
Mhm.
at the Branch Connection, so that would be a good opportunity to go check
To
out
go
the
see
event.
it.
I don't know if he's gonna have people staffing, so you can go check it out and do like a quick tour.
Yeah, it's open now, so you go check it out anytime.
Will there
Right.
be group dancing?
Yeah.
And there's rental space available, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have a cool like arts and crafts area that I was looking at the photos and the like movie theater.
I'll call that trend.
well,
There's a stage, right?
yeah, so it's the ballroom that's rentable and it's rentable as a whole or into three. There used to be like rental rooms, but those spaces are now occupied by the conference room, the theater, the maker space and like the pool and then the gym. But there is the mirrored room in the back, which is like their card room that could be rented out. Definitely. And there's like a small like yoga room at like maybe 3 people capacity, but we have some of those at the rec center where it's only a couple of people that just need a mirror. So yeah, there's definitely space.
But I'm saying there's also a stage still
Yes.
there,
Yeah.
right? And that's a rentable
It
space.
is, and there's a huge disco ball, huge disco ball, and it spins and it has lights.
Well,
This
there you
is
go.
unrelated, but kind of related. I just started a nonprofit that's gonna focus on very young children and seniors. And it's putting on musicals and things with senior citizens. And I'm like, that space might be a great space for my nonprofit to go
We got
into.
stage, we've got, you know,
Maybe
we've got how many chairs? 200 chairs. We can, we just.
Like our requirement is participants have to be 55 and plus.
Mhm. That's a requirement for the Branch Connection.
So see, I think that'll be fantastic. Great, thank you. That's just a little personal. thing.
in addition to the thing that Rob said about targeting the young adults and without the children and stuff like that, there was just a large consensus that they wanted events that had music, get out there, targeting that same event, trivia. And there was even like up to the older ages, like having like a field day or Olympics or something,
Fun.
fitness activities that, we're gonna have like a healthy food truck and get people out, multi-generational, like hangout.
And we are having field day, part of our NRPA in July, our National Parks and Recreation Month. Awesome. We are having a family field day. We listen, we invite, when feasible. Yes, yeah.
Okay, are we finished with our subcommittee reports?
They were fast tonight.
Question mark. Okay, I would like to push it down to the other end of the table if there's anything Rob needs to share with us or.
I mean, we kind of covered it. First of all, I'm Robert Diaz, Park and Rec Director.
Jessica.
Yes, Recreation Superintendent. And so, just kind of give you updated, so, arts and culture and this facility was all under the tourism arm and economic development. A couple of weeks ago, we made a change back to, everything's back under Parks and Rec now. So, so this board, Historical Park Board, in addition to the other 3 boards that are in Parks and Rec, we've got those boards back. So, Bonnie will still take the lead on, running the meeting. Jessica will be here, most of the time, or myself. So we'll have 2 staff here, and just keep going, doing what you're doing. You're just part of the Parks and Rec team again. So, anything you guys all need, Bonnie's great to get with, or we're available to email, and our, same email, Robert.Diaz and Jessica.Alvarado. So same as Bonnie. So if you guys need anything, let us know. But that's how we'll kind of move forward, and, we look forward to kind of having arts and culture back under, Parks and Rec. And, it was nice to get I think there was a lot of happy faces getting it back. You know, we were happy to get it back. So, but I'll answer any questions you all have.
I think we're happy to have it. It's been such a great and productive meeting.
That's awesome. Good deal.
All right, so I have for agenda items for next month, we need to discuss the Westside Art Trail art placement, the activities of promoting that, plaques, etc., pedestal height, proximity to street lighting, is there anything? So basically, Westside Art Trail needs to go back on the,
As an agenda.
as an agenda item.
Yeah, and I won't be here next month, so it's all on you.
Okay.
We'll meet before then and then he can
Perfect.
present.
We trust him. Okay, anything else that needs to go on agenda items for next one?
Something was occurring to me, and maybe this is totally outside our scope, but all this discussion about the nonprofit and the Friends of the Historical Park. Should we be thinking about whether that should really evolve into Friends of the Arts and Culture District, since it's not just historical park
But
anymore?
we addressed this at one point and did a lot of research on it. I think that is a great question to bring up when David Moore is here,
Mhm.
because he did all the research on that.
Okay,
And the bottom line from the city, sorry if I'm taking.
No.
The bottom line from the city at that point was, no, that was not necessary, but maybe circumstances have changed.
Well, the Friends of the Historical Park are to serve the Historical Preservation Board. That's why they were created. It's the first board that was
Mhm.
created for the city. And
okay,
they were formed to serve the Historical Preservation Board. We can look into how to expand that. I mean, that's what it was originally set up for. We have to look at their bylaws and what that entails. And that's something we could definitely take a look at and see, can we expand on that? Or do we have to create our own since we're a separate
and
board?
that's where I was going. It sounds like that's something that should be
And I'll ask
on
about
the
that.
agenda at least for sometime this year.
Yeah, we
really.
had one sit from, Don, it was Farmers Branch
Years ago,
that Matthew had.
Yes.
yeah, it was
We
years
had
ago.
one,
We had
and,
one.
yeah,
and
we
then
had
he
one.
Add one what?
We
I know.
had a
A 501
nonprofit
C3.
Or,
for, to support this, board.
okay.
And we sold the locks for the Locks of Love. That was a fundraiser for that. At the time, it didn't just really take off, and the city kind of said, I think you need that. So we let that go at the time, but that's been several years ago and things change. So David has a lot of research on that. I think it'd be great if we discuss it with him.
All these events are getting bigger and bigger with
Yeah.
Gateway to the Globe and Branch Arts Live, so
Yeah,
seems
but-
like it's something to revisit. Yeah,
Having a photo board, Friends of the Arts, that feeds into all those different things. If the historical preservation, Friends of the Historical Park are not the conduit for us to do some of the other things, we might need that. So, yeah, let's talk to
Talk
David
to
and
him and visit. them.
Yeah, and he has done a lot of
Because we'd
research on
have to
that.
set up a 501c3, it would have to be a different board, we wouldn't serve on it, so we would have to get different people. There's some timing involved in filing and all that, and,
It's something
but
to
he's
revisit.
done all of the research.
And he's very.
so
familiar
how
with
about
that.
we put that question under the strategic committee to address, one, because David's already on that
Yes, that's
subcommittee.
that makes
So that we don't have to add another separate.
That sounds
agenda.
great,
Mhm,
And that sounds like a strategic question.
mhm.
and give him a heads up so he can bring all of his documentation,
Yeah.
because he did extensive research, and that'd be great.
It may be a meeting or two, just so that we can all meet on it outside and understand it.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Another 3 hours.
Well, and I wanted to say a thank you to everyone who volunteered at Gateway to the Globe. We loved our booth, and thank you to those who came and spent the afternoon and evening with us.
It was.
I ended it with Jennifer, so I started with Brianna and Chris and ended it with Jennifer, and we had a lot of fun. So thank you all for your time that you contributed. We really appreciate it. And then we have all the listings of the different links to arts and culture in the city, and I will look at how to, I'll wait for you to send me your list and stuff, and then I'll look into a lot of that more and how we can get the word out and get the artist directory and all that. But in the meantime, we have the links to the various, places in Farmers Branch that you can go, on those websites and see what's going on for right now, until one day we have one calendar that is shared with the whole city. Along with, Firehouse Theater, and I know they have the wedding singer now, and next month, the city is partnering with Firehouse and doing a, employee appreciation night with Oklahoma. So that's quite fun, and, employees were invited to, be able to, get 2 tickets and, go spend the night at, the theater, so, and get some culture, as Robert, put it, so, excited for that, and
Cool.
we have a June meeting, and then, we break in July, and we come back in August. Thank you to those who also, are gonna serve another term. There were several of you that were up for, so thank you to that.
Who attended that board meeting? The discussion about the board meetings last week or earlier this week?
The sunset,
Yeah, just you?
no, a lot of us were there, yeah. Did you have a question?
I was just curious because I saw it pop up, but I didn't see like an invite, so.
Well, I think it was staff.
Staff liaison
right?
was supposed to go.
Oh, that's right.
So like Amy.
I was invited by, yeah.
We tried to have all the boards that we had, all the boards, so P and Z, they all had their staff liaisons there. In addition to management staff, so I think.
I thought it was one of the ones where like if you were an incoming member, then you had to get like sworn in or whatever.
That's
So
it.
that's why I was like, I didn't see an email about it.
Well,
so
sunset
what can I
review.
do?
Well, the sunset review, then they chose candidates for those that were.
Opening,
for this.
Yeah.
boards that had openings.
Yeah.
We don't have any openings, so we have everyone that is staying put, so.
We had lots last year.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
yes,
true.
we did.
It was completely turned over.
Are there any other agenda items we need to add?
No,
Oh, I just wanted to ask and see if the rest of the committee would be up for moving arts and culture to possibly City Hall for the June meeting. And possibly make that more of where we would have home base. It just seems like it's worked out really well for the subcommittee. It's kind of, if it lets us kind of, I know Bonnie might have to travel another block over, but I think it's probably better from our standpoint to be able to have it there if we could. So I didn't know if there was any feedback on that. Is the committee, you guys care one way or the other?
Same distance of driving.
I don't care.
Yeah,
Okay.
it
Doesn't
seems
make a
to me
difference to
with the
me.
construction, it's probably better.
Yeah. So, because when you go down the street and it's blocked off, you're like, oh, I can actually go down that street. So,
I'm
yeah.
happy to go wherever we
Okay.
need to go.
All right, well, we'll work through all that. I just wanted to kind of bring that up.
Are you just saying for June or going forward?
I'd like to see about going forward, we just keep it at that location. We're looking at the first floor, City Hall has a conference room there. But we also have the possibility, if there's not going on a council chamber, for the subcommittee, we're using that because we got so many people. But I think this group could fit in the conference room without a problem, so.
Yeah, it's probably about the same size, maybe a little bit bigger than this room.
I'll default to staff's choice.
Yeah, just let us know.
Tell me where to go.
Yeah, we'll put it on the agenda to confirm everything, but we just wanted to throw that out.
No,
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Yeah. I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. All in favor? All opposed? The meeting is adjourned at 7:43 PM. We're still recording.
Might be the latest that we've actually gone.
Really?